Hello and welcome back to Indy Scavenger newsletter. We hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I know I did. Food with the family, all that kind of stuff. I hope you had something like that in your life, and it was a good time for you. And of course, you got some of those Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals, and save some money and get that Christmas stuff going. Anyway, um, wanted to thank all the new subscribers. We've gone over 20 subscribers now, which, it's not a big, huge amount that we're looking at so far, but um, it's working. We're growing. Uh, Hopefully, you'll hit that like button, that subscribe button, and most importantly, that share button and share this with everybody that you possibly can. We are talking about small press publications in this newsletter series, and it works when there's people out there who are interested in new and different publications. Um, you're not here to listen to me talk. You're listening to hear me talk about somebody else's work. So I'm going to go to that next. Um, as I mentioned last week, Rob Cooley sent me in two issues of A Strange and Chaotic World, and they're kind of like they're bigger than a mini comic, smaller than a digest. I can't quite figure out what size paper he's actually printing on to get this um, particular size, but I would think that um, he could probably either shrink it down to mini comic or better um, get it to fit on these pages. We'll discuss more about that in just a second. Before I tear these apart with my critical eye and go into the details of what could be better, let's talk about what is good. Um, and that would be the story, because Rob Cooley's created a very large, I mean, this is a whole planet wide story, a post apocalyptic type thing. Um, and he's got uh, mad doctors and scientists and demons and different types of things running around this planet. These particular two issues, number 5 and 6, basically we're running out of heroes. We only got a couple left, a few left maybe, and there's a lot of the villain taking charge and really um, squishing anyone in his opposition as far as that goes. That's where the story's headed to at this point. Going to be very interesting to see how Rob is able to write himself into um, having some kind of hope for the characters that are in this storyline. Um, so that's the good. That's the good. The story, it reads well. There's a couple little hiccups where I'll point out in a minute. It reads well. It's well developed, and I definitely want to see where it's going. So it's doing its job as far as that. And I have been reading it since issue number 1. We're up to issue number 6 here, and he's putting them out at a decent pace so that you stay interested in the story. And so for those factors, I definitely recommend checking it out for that. Um, the story, the artwork is stylistic. I wouldn't say it's very detailed. Some of it is. Some of it can come across pretty sketchy. Um, I think it would all look a lot better if he colored it and printed it in color. But I know how printing wise, I can tell he's printing on a home printer of some sort. Um, but of course, if it's got cartridges, then the printing of like that for any amount of copies to um, resell would be more expensive than the way I do it with my comic with the inkwell thing, because that seems to be the only cost-effective way to print in color for what I've seen and continue to see as I continue to research that kind of stuff. So, first big no-no of the publication. That UFO symbol shouldn't be where it's at on a cover. As far as I know, the United Fanzine Organization has specific wording in its constitution that we don't, as members, show the UFO as the publishing body of the work. It says on the inside cover that it's published by RDGA Graphics, which that is the logo that should be there, and the UFO logo, if you're going to use it, should be smaller underneath it or in a different corner or even the back corner or back page somewhere. So Rob, you're going to have to look at taking that UFO logo off of that top left corner, because it's not where it's supposed to be. And if you look at this on the table, you'd think that the United Fanzine Organization was the publishing body and not you. And you want to be promoting your publishing company. Being in the UFO is a collective effort, and it's not the publishing body. So I would definitely, I think we have to tell you to not do that. I'll have to look in the UFO Constitution again, but I'm pretty sure that there's words that say don't do that. Otherwise, design of the cover, it's kind of shifted off to the side. It's not centered. I would definitely have figured out a way to center that a little better. I'm not sure. I think you'd be able to use a mini comic size page to draw on, which would be 6 by 8. Basically, that size is what I draw pages for my mini comic. And I would think that 6 by 8 would shrink down to that size pretty decently. And it would give you better margins. Something's really off with your pages don't see, because this one here, it's way up on top. Go to the next one, it's more in the middle. Go to this one, it seems a little larger and more centered, which is good. And then you go to the next one, and it's doing that instead of that, which that always drives me crazy in a comic book. Even when pros do it, when there's a sideways page in the middle of stuff that you have to turn the book instead of flip the page. So I would definitely, I'm not sure what size your originals that you're doing are, but figuring out the reduction and the placement on that, whatever template you're using to print out of to get things correct on the different sheets that you use to cut, collate, staple. You got to be able to get that a little more consistent and a little more centered, so that it looks more professional. I mean, that's basically what we're going for as publishers. We want our stuff to look the best it can, so our readers go, hey, that looks really cool. I'm also going to have to send you off to look up the tutorial I did on fixing scans, because I can see very vividly in here. Like this top line right there. I'm not sure if it's coming in clear because I took my glasses off so I can see. Um, it's fuzzy and bumpy and can be fixed. And I wrote it. I did a video tutorial that shows exactly how to do that. Um, and it also shows how to get rid of some of the little lines. Like there's one right there that pops off the top of the word balloon or the word square and goes through the border into the margin space, and that can be just erased on a digital image before you print it, and it wouldn't catch people's eyes and say, oh, he missed a line. um, there are other spots in here. The printing has improved. I will give it that. There are darker darks and um, less of the fuzziness background bits that I've seen in previous issues come through. Um, I noticed on issue number 5 here, about 3 pages in, there's on this particular scene, the first 2 word balloons have one font, and then we change voices and have a slightly different font. Now, that's perfectly okay, and I was able to follow it, but it did give me a little pause because they were so close together in visualness. There could have been some kind of maybe a quotation marks around the first one that better, okay, this is somebody talking instead of um, describing the background, and we turn our attention back to, and then we have someone talking in the next square, which it's a translation to a different style of storytelling, um, which just could use a little bit better visually sound transfer there. Um, Maybe put an extra line through in so it's a double line in the box, anything like that that would better transfer from one train of thought to the next. So that's a thought that I put in there. Now this guy here on the turned page gets a bunch of shadows, and the shadows go inside the word balloons, and there is once again tutorial I did that shows specifically how to get rid of the shadows of grayscale stuff that you don't want in places that it can get into. Like this whole side here has shadows through the line between the actual panel and the line that's going all the way around. It could be fixed easily. It would probably take about 10 minutes per page, and you can get that done and wouldn't have the shadows that are plaguing in a number of places. And it's fine if you're printing in black and white to use grayscale, and you can get grayscales using the program that I'm using in the tutorial. Um, and they will print on a printer in black and white. I also think that there is a chance that you're using a black and white, um, you think you're using black and white, but it's still printing in some colors, because on this back page here, you end up with a um, blue for your emails, and that's, if that page was printed in black and white, on its counterpart, which would be that page, then it explains why the shadows have a little bit of colorish tints to them and are coming through. And halfway in that word balloon, this side's white, that side's got a gray um, hue to the actual word balloon. So those can be fixed. And I hope you will definitely check out the tutorial I'm mentioning and start working on that, because it would make the comic book better. And I want it to be better so that it will continue, and I'll get to find out how we get out of the mess we're in. So that is the basics of uh, the what's not going right with the comic. Um, I do like the color on the covers. I'm not sure why you would print that guy in color and not your logo. Things like that you can think about. Again, on number 6, you got to get rid of the UFO in the top left. It's not supposed to be there. Um, Other than that, again, this issue has a lot of the same just things that look like pencil shadows that didn't get erased and came through in the scan. You can see, like in that guy's leg right there. Hopefully you can see it because I don't have my glasses on. But I don't know if that's focused. Anyway, it's there. You can definitely see shadow lines that could be erased that would make the picture better. And that's all I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to ding you really hard or anything. I just want to see the book be as best it can be, and definitely make things like that look better, because they could. Anyway, that is Rob Cooley's Strange and Chaotic World, issues 5 and 6. They're definitely worth picking up, checking out. Um, the story is interesting and has a lot of things going on that are piecing together. He seems to have a good direction, good flow, and following it is fun. So that's that. Um, I want to thank everyone for having watched this episode and otherwise enjoying what we're doing here at Periodical Paradise. And we will definitely keep doing these. I've got tons of people starting to say, hey, we'll send you stuff, which is great. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't gotten any digital ones yet. I'd like to, because I can set it up on the screen and have me down in the corner and put the actual comic on the screen and videotape the whole thing with the program that I got. So if you want to send PDFs, perfectly fine. If you want to find out how to get your comic featured, go down below and read in the description of the video how to do that. And we'll get you on here as soon as we can. I'd like to start doing more than one book per episode, but I'm trying to stay just with what people are sending in currently. So, I mean, I've got a lot of things that I got at Space that I could dip into, and they're mostly going to get listed in publication I'm going to start working on, which will be more of a listing of all the new stuff from a year. And I haven't gotten all of the details of what I'm going to do with it in my head yet, but that's going to be something I start doing, so we'll get on that. Right now, I'm going to go start coloring some pages for my comic. Hopefully you'll check it out sometime too. All right, thank you all very much. Goodbye. Have a good week.